Welcome to the first and final podcast of Lost in Conversation podcast of Three's Company.
Yes.
All right.
Lost in Conversation. Lost in Conversation. Lost in Conversation. Lost in.
We're going to talk about the show at Three's Company, and we're going to talk about the pilot and the finale. So we're going to start with the pilot, but before we go into that, we'll give you a little background.
Or tell them who's here.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I forgot to mention my faithful cohort, Clay.
What's up?
And of course, I'm Taz, aka Dave.
This-
Three's Company.
Yes.
Most of you guys have probably heard of this along the way. For those of you who haven't, kind of a story about three roommates, two girls, one
Yeah.
guy.
Well, what we're doing is a first and final episode. I got this idea from a podcast called First and Final. So shout out to those guys, totally copying their idea.
Yes.
I really enjoy the podcast. I'm excited that we're going to do our own version of it. They never did Three's Company. I always thought that was a really epic show, and I'm really excited that we're going to do Three's Company.
Yeah,
really
it's a
cool
laugh
show.
right, man. It's a real good show. Anyway, you know, a lot of people know about the show, but those of you who don't, you have John Ritter, who plays pretty much the main character, I guess, Jack Tripper.
Yeah.
And then he has two roommates, Janet Wood and Chrissy Snow. Suzanne Summers plays the Chrissy Snow character. So you have these three roommates, and in this time period, it's in the late 70s. It's sort of not the norm for two girls and a guy to live together. So
Based in Santa Monica, California, by the way.
Correct. So you have two girls and one guy living together, which is not the sort of thing that you would normally find during that time
A
period.
little backstory on myself and Dave. I feel like this was meant to be for us to do this podcast. We're actually roommates, and we had a third roommate. So it's kind of who actually was a good cook.
And a guy.
Jack, so.
And he was a guy. Yeah, so three guys.
Yeah.
And a pizza place. Anyway, so you have your three roommates. At first, it's three girl roommates, actually. In the pilot, you realize that originally
I'll give
that's
a 60-second synopsis on it. I thought it was funny that the theme song was actually composed by the same guy who did the Sesame Street.
that kind of took me for a loop there.
And also
I
the
wasn't
brunette on
expecting
the
that.
beach that causes Jack to fall off his bike is actually Susan Summers in a wig. That was pretty.
Yeah, again, I always thought that was the Janet character myself.
The show
A little
takes
surprised.
place it started in 1977. Man, a year before I was born. It's actually based on a British show called Man About the House, which is the same name as the pilot.
Yeah,
That was cool.
yeah, nice touch there. All right, so we're just going to go right into it. Clay, if you want to give your...
Well, how about, what's your experience with the show?
well, my experience?
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's a show that I was born in 1977. Much like you, when the show came out, we were too young to really...
I feel like it was on the TV a lot, though.
It was. As a young child, I remember my parents having it on the TV. I don't really remember it that well as a young child, but then as I grew older, I started watching it, and it's been syndication, so you've been able to watch it over and over, reruns over the years. And it just became one of those shows that once you watched it, it stuck with you. Classic characters, great acting, John Ritter, Suzanne Summers. I mean, you know, Don Knotts when he was on the show. It's one of those shows that sort of stood the test of time, I think.
For me, I remember it was always on the air. Like, early on, growing up, there wasn't a whole lot on TV back then.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, pretty much could not come across Three's Company at that point. Like, it was just one of the few shows that were on early. A lot of eye candy going on there, you know? From a California native from the Fresno area, I thought it was really cool that on the storyline, Christy, she's from the Fresno area and a struggling secretary.
Yes. Yeah.
So Jack is going to school to be a chef. Mm-hmm. Janet is a florist, and Christy is ditzy secretary from Fresno. There you go.
Right.
Of course, Christy, we all know, leaves the show. She was holding out for some more money.
Yeah, I think she was asking for about 5 times more than they were actually.
Season 5 marked the
Later.
beginning of the contract renegotiations. So Summers demanded a heavily increase. She wanted to go from 30,000. That's insane. That she was only making 30,000
per episode.
Oh,
when
I see
you
what
think
you're
about
saying.
it
Yeah,
that way,
okay,
it's not so bad. But even for that time period, it's like
That's quite a bit.
nowadays people are
right?
making certain millions per
Yeah.
episode.
So she
Yeah.
wanted more than double her salary per episode. She wanted 150,000 plus 10% of the show's profit. So I guess they're just like, well, that's just too much.
Yeah.
Also, the landlord, Mr. Furley, he takes over the apartment because Furley, the brother,
It actually explains that his brother, Bart, who's not previously on the show, the building's new owner, he just sort of comes into the show that way. They sort of kind of wrote the Ropers out of the mix there,
okay,
who were the original owners.
is that because they want to bring more stars in and bring the guy?
Well, that could have been part of it, but I mean, you had a spin-off show, first of all, the Ropers, and Meet the Ropers. So I think they were sort of trying to do their own thing. They didn't have the star power that, Don Knotts brings, from his Andy Griffith show and everything. So
He is hilarious.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a show about miscommunications.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
The class.
Yeah.
If there's a classic show about miscommunications, this is it right here.
All right, so the time has come, I believe, for me to do the 60-second synopsis on this.
Okay. All right. So let's
Let me get ready here.
give you start our engines here.
All right, it's our first time doing this. The pressure is on.
All right. So are you ready? Let's
Okay,
let's go.
Here we go. All right, so Christy's vacuuming, and then Janet walks in, and I guess they just had a really crazy party. See a lot of party decorations everywhere. I guess Eleanor, their roommate, just had a wedding reception, and she gave birth. Wow, what a crazy day, huh? And they find Jack. He's just laying in the bathtub. Then the shower turns on. They're like, "Who the heck are you?" He's like, "I was a guest at the party." The Ropers are complaining about the loud party downstairs. Mr. Roper, let me see. Okay, then Jack is wet. They need some new clothes. They give him like the old roommate's girly pajamas. Jack is making dinner or whatever, lunch or something for them, and they're like, "Man, this guy's a great cook." They ask him if he wants to be the roommate. He said, "Yeah." A lady goes in there because she wants to be a roommate. They must have put an ad out or something. And the landlord goes in there and thinks that that's actually Jack. He's like saying, "Yeah, you're a dude," or whatever. And basically, Jack takes over and he becomes the roommate. So
All right. Cool.
that probably sounded horrible, but I did my
That's
best.
a pretty good synopsis, I'd say. In a nutshell, there you go. That's the show.
Yeah. So what were the main? Did I leave anything out here? Let me
Well,
see
I
here.
think the one thing we want to clarify to the audience here is that how exactly that Jack convinces Mr. Roper that he can be the roommate. And
Yeah,
it's
oh,
actually
yeah,
not
that's
Jack.
a big thing I
It's
left out.
actually not Jack's doing at all.
Yeah,
He
it's,
sort of
Janet. Yeah.
Janet sort of saves the day there, and
Yeah.
that's how the episode ends. And it turns out that she has told Mr. Roper that
Yeah.
he's gay. And
Yeah.
no problem. Yeah, well, gay guy's just as good as the third girl living there. So go ahead, move on in. He's wearing a dress anyway. So from the old roommate. So
Yeah.
it's believable.
We'll see how you do on the finale. That's
Okay.
kind of tough, man.
Yeah, it is.
The pilot, what are the main characters established?
Well,
Janet and Christy, obviously,
yes.
and Jack. You can tell
Yeah.
the show is gonna be focused around them.
And then you got the kind of nosy landlord, Mr. Roper,
Yeah.
and the sexually frustrated wife, Mrs. Roper.
Her lines were so funny, man. Oh my gosh, that was great.
He's constantly making snide remarks to her husband about his lack
Like
of
nonstop.
enthusiasm in their love life.
Yeah, nonstop.
And not just recently, but seems to be years of neglect in the bedroom.
She talks about an earthquake. There's a crack, and that's the first time.
The bed shaked in years.
Oh man! So the show obviously is about these two ladies. They're just got a new roommate. The hilarious landlords, and that's pretty much the story's.
And
Pretty simple pilot there.
And again, right from the get-go, it's, again, about misunderstandings. Mr. Roper walks in, Mrs. Roper has told him that there's a man living there, and he freaks out, and he comes down there and doesn't see Jack at first, sees a woman who was
Yeah.
actually potential roommate candidate. and accuses her of being a man dressed up.
I would say, to me, that was the funniest part of the
It was.
episode.
And like claiming that her breasts were not real and so forth. And
Yeah.
that's a real comical moment. Again, the classic misunderstanding.
That was the funniest part, and also the landlord, her comments were really funny. Mrs. Roper's comments.
Yes.
That was crazy.
So yeah, then then he comes down there and Jack's there, and like the whole thing with Janet kind of explaining the situation to them. So now this more
Yeah.
craziness will ensue in the following episodes, and then this goes on for what eight seasons.
So what characters do we meet? I guess we pretty much
Janet, Chrissy, Jack, and the Ropers.
And that's it.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah.
meet anyone else. What we get from their personality is Christy is all big time, very ditzy, very much an airhead. We
Yeah.
get that right away.
Janet seems like the brains of the operation there.
And Jack is so eyes on Christy, he just totally like blanks out and doesn't pay attention to Janet a couple of times.
Right.
Like he pulls out her chair.
And
but not
you notice another thing about Jack too, that he has a passion for cooking. I mean, he just goes in there with really nothing and just sort of whips up something out of whatever they have available, and it ends up being a real hit with the girls.
Yeah.
So like they're like, hey, this guy can cook for us.
Christy's lines are so funny. He's like, "Do you have any breadcrumbs?"
Yeah, I'll get some out of the bed.
He's like, "You don't make breadcrumbs." Oh my gosh! This show went on for 8 seasons. Such a good show. I'm surprised it didn't go like usually good shows will go 9, but it's close 8 seasons.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the Suzanne Summers character, which
Yeah.
we'll talk more about, was not going to be on for the entirety of the series. So,
Oh, okay.
they had
This is a
some
good one.
Lineup changes.
How would you rate the theme song?
the theme song?
Yes.
It's well. First off, it starts with this really 70s sounding guitar solo whammy bar deal that is just hilarious to me. Like the ridiculous singing, combine that with Jack Tripper's just
He's a really good actor as far as like the slapstick comedy.
yeah, he's
You know?
he's very good at the physical comedy.
Yeah.
Like he shows that in the pilot where he's like falling out of the bathtub, and like even in the introduction they show him just falling off his bike, staring at which we find out is actually Chrissy in a wig.
Yeah.
But he's really good at that. So
Like just on the pilot, the like the shaving was funny, and then the shower. The theme song to me back in the day, I used to think it sounded weird and just kind of like annoying 70s sound. I thought it was like this is lame, but now I think it's just kind of cool.
yeah.
It's kind of like relaxing beach is what I'm thinking of when I hear this.
Yeah, it's comical for sure, but fitting at the same time.
I gotta say, I cannot wait to meet Larry. I've always thought he was hilarious. on the show.
Larry
Yeah.
is a great character, and we'll
At the Regal Beagle, right? Is it called the
yes.
Regal?
He's
Beagle?
always up to no good. Like he's
Yeah.
always getting Jack involved in these weird schemes of his, and
So, based on the pilot, if you were watching it live back in March 1977, and you watched this live, would you, based on the pilot, want to keep watching the show?
yes, I would.
And that's just not for Chrissy.
Oh no, it's no, it's not.
I would want to keep watching it. It was
No, I
pretty
mean-
hilarious, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody brings something to the table. Janet has some really good comic moments there. Jack is, well, John Ritter. I mean, he's just a comic genius. I mean, let's just be honest here. I mean, he has this charisma about him. The aura he brings he's just immediately, like, you can see the comic genius in him.
Everybody listening, spoiler alert, we're about to go to the finale, so pause this podcast and go watch every single episode.
Yeah,
And-
and we'll be waiting.
We'll be waiting here.
All right.
All right, we're going.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the Three's Company finale.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. The name of the finale that aired September 18th, to be exact, 1984. Kind of a scary year, like, the book 1984.
Yeah, that is scary. Big
the-
Brother watching.
Name of the episode is Friends and Lovers. So we are going to go right into the 60-second synopsis. This time,
Without further ado.
co-host Dave has the privilege of doing this one. Good luck, man. There's a lot to cover on this one. There's a lot. There's like 10 times more than the pilot.
Let's
I gotta
see.
say.
I'm like the Micro Machine Man. I'm just going to go.
All right. So Got the timer ready. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
And we are off.
Okay, Terry is now the third roommate. Mr. Furley, played by Don Knotts, is the goofy landlord. Jack is trying to win over his girlfriend Vicky's father. Janet, set to get married, but wants a church wedding, not just a robotic city hall wedding. Vicky's father, very serious, difficult, causing Jack anxiety. The father tries to make Jack feel guilty about Vicky giving up her dream job, which is all just a front to kind of make him feel guilty. Because she would have to relocate to Houston. She doesn't care about the job. She wants to be with Jack. Jack is giving away Janet at her wedding to Philip. Vicky makes it around to Jack's wedding before the wedding, despite her father's attempt to ruin it. Vicky catches the bouquet, ends up wanting to live with Jack rather than marry him, so they decide to move in together.
And you're at 60.
So a little emotional scene as all three roommates move out. Mr. Furley's there. It's real emotional. They leave for the last time. But then Jack and Victoria end up together, kind of having nervous feelings about being together. And then the dad shows up. And that's how we segue into the final episode of the show.
You went 20 seconds over, but that's all good.
I tried. It was
a lot to cover.
It was an extended episode.
It had to be, right? That had to be.
Yeah.
I think it was a 2 episode because that one where he asked her to marry and it just kind of fades to black. That had to be the end of that first episode.
Yeah.
What a cliffhanger, right?
Wow, that was a lot.
All right. What are your thoughts?
Well, as I was trying to get to at the end there, Three's a Crowd is flashed up on the screen as the show is ending.
Yeah, total.
Which sort of kind of segues right into the spinoff,
Yeah.
which is obviously going to be Jack and his new girl and the dad,
the overbearing father,
sticking his nose in their business. That the end of that kind of dragged on for a while there, but it was comical because it really highlighted Jack, his character, for what he stood for the whole time, just being sort of nervous, and his physical humor, throwing the pillows around and like tripping over things and stuff like that. So
right away, we know Christy is not there. We also notice Mr. Roper is gone and Furley's the new landlord.
Right.
He has a new roommate now, Terry. Terry's a new roommate. Did they look different to you? I would say Janet looked a lot older on this episode.
I mean, 8 years later, I mean, everybody's going to look a little older.
So there was at one time another roommate, Cindy. This is Terry in this episode, right?
Yeah, Cindy was, cousin of Chrissy. He was sort of a fill-in until they find a more permanent
How long was she on the show? Do you remember her?
Not that long, I don't
Really?
think. Again, I don't think she was ever considered to be like a long-term replacement for Christy.
Yeah.
I think it was, they waited until they found a more permanent replacement, and Terry kind of fit the bill.
I guess I would say the opening credits was all about the zoo, right? Like the whole thing was just filmed at the zoo.
Yeah, I know. A little different than the original.
I definitely remember the scene with the flamingos when she was standing with the flamingos and then does like the one leg.
Oh, right.
Okay,
Yeah. I remember that too. Nice legs, by the way, Terry's got there. Just saying.
They totally added that to capture her.
Yeah. I mean, she has nice legs, so might as well, highlight those, right? Okay.
I love how Larry on the credits has that shirt that's like unbuttoned like really far. Like, it's like totally like Larry, the sleazeball type of the guy,
Right. Although Larry has some sort of heartfelt moments in this finale, though.
Yeah. He's definitely there to help his buddies out. And
And he's not just Jack's buddy, although he feels like that's his only friend, but he has a pretty nice moment with Janet as she's getting ready to tie the knot there.
I would have loved to seen all the past characters come on the show at some point. Like when we watch The Office, how it has Michael Scott appearance.
Right, yeah.
Like if they would have had like Christy just show up and for Janet's wedding, that would have been really cool.
Yeah, right, sure. And somehow get the Ropers back in there.
Yeah,
that would have been epic.
I mean, a show this big, it seems like they would be able to make that happen. I mean, that would have been really cool. If all of a sudden they just showed up, I thought it made it a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Furley, even in the finale, in a more of a serious, emotional finale, he's still the comic relief. His this sort of obnoxious behavior is, the way his mannerisms are just unprecedented.
Yeah. Furley, man, he is so funny.
He keeps the comedy rolling.
I would say Roper and the wife, they had a really funny chemistry there. She was always giving him a hard time. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, Furley, I would say, is a lot funnier than Mr. Roper. Just really awesome actor.
Yeah, he sort of like creates his own humor out of nothing, where the chemistry, or the lack of chemistry actually, between Roper and his wife is what it's sort of like the same joke over and over again. I mean, you never know what Furley's going to do. Not so unpredictable, and his comic timing is great.
Right away, you can tell he has a lot of acting experience.
Sure.
A lot more than Terry. I thought Christy was a million times better than Terry. That's just my opinion. I thought her
Chrissy
comic timing, the way she was just so blonde and ditzy, it was just really funny.
I don't think Terry was meant to be ditz. You know, I don't think they wanted to have the same exact character.
Yeah, because kind of like they'd
already done that. Yeah, so like
for the first 5 seasons.
Sure.
So she was there 5 seasons. After she left, there was only 3 more seasons.
I don't think the other girl was there for maybe more about a season.
Okay,
it wasn't very long.
I don't even remember who Cindy was.
Yeah, it was short-lived.
What do you think the best line? I thought when the father showed up, that was really funny when he was giving Jack our time.
Yeah.
Also, during the wedding, when the phone rang, which was the father, and he just answered it and said, "Call back, the wedding's on."
Oh yeah, for me, the real funniest part to me was when Jack reveals to Mr. Furley that he's moving in with a girl into a 1-bedroom apartment, and Furley is thrilled. He's basically, takes the credit for turning Jack straight.
Oh yeah, that was really funny.
To me, that was like sort of like the
he wants to give him a hug. And he's like, why not? He's been cured.
Yes, right.
Oh man,
it's a great moment there.
I love seeing Larry on the show. I thought he was really funny. That shirt he had on was so weird and like totally 80s-ish.
Yeah.
And also Jack's super short yellow shorts.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the time period that you're watching the show in when you start seeing the attire. That's for sure.
Did it tie all the loose ends? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell because we didn't really remember all the seasons, but...
True. I feel like Terry's character, we just been watching the pilot and then going right to that. So we don't know as much about Terry, and they don't really talk about her as much. I mean, obviously Janet's getting married and Jack's getting ready to get into a long-term relationship and move out. But what's Terry doing? We know she's getting on a plane, and that's about it.
There's a big moment where Terry talks to Jack and they have like a real heart-to-heart, and she tells a line pretty much, even though you don't want to move in with her, you do what you have to do to stay with someone you love, which is a line that Jack used on Janet. So apparently Janet was about to break up with her husband. That was pretty kind of a deep moment there.
Yeah, the whole vibe of the show was just a lot more serious than...
What actors do you think did a great job? Obviously, Mr. Jack.
Also, Joyce DeWitt, who plays Janet. I mean, she was there from the beginning as well. I always thought she was a solid actress. Again, her and Jack have a good chemistry. That's probably why they were both on the show for the whole time and they worked well together. She was never replaced by anybody else. It was always
Janet.
Just them two, and then the third girl, whoever that may be. So
I gotta say, in classic finale fashion, there's a wedding, right?
Yeah,
there's like so many finales has that wedding.
True.
So, and I would say it's totally lame getting married inside of an apartment building, but for this show, it fits it, right? Because everything starts
everything happens in the apartment.
Yeah, so I thought it was fitting for the show, right?
Or the Regal Beagle. The Regal Beagle.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to see the Regal Beagle.
Yeah, that could have been a good.
So what have these actors done outside the show? I will say Christy, she did a lot. I was just telling my buddy Dave that she did the Thigh Master.
Yes, she did.
That was on, like, the infomercial was on all the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we all enjoyed the infomercial for the Thigh
more
Master.
Than others, maybe.
And Step by Step, Patrick Duffy.
What did Jack's character do?
Oh, yeah.
He did a lot.
John Ritter. Oh, he was in Sling Blade.
Really? Okay.
A really famous movie with Billy Bob Thornton.
What show was he on?
8 Simple Rules.
He was on that show as he passed away.
Right, yeah.
Was it like,
eight Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter.
I remember that. That was really sad.
The daughter was actually the girl that's on The Big Bang Theory. Kelly Kaluko, I believe her name is.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good show. Again, terrible tragedy. Him passing, again, right in the middle of that show, was pretty shocking news at the time. And yeah, he did a lot with his career. Problem Child. He was in the Problem Child.
That might have been his biggest role.
Yeah, those are...
In the movie, right?
Those
Problem Child?
Yeah, the Problem Child movies, yeah. Again, I'm a big fan of Sling Blade. You got to check that out if you haven't, yeah.
Isn't that the one where has a Dwight Yoakam is that?
Yes, Dwight Yoakam is in that. Yeah, it's a great movie, man.
Interesting fun fact, by the way. In the opening credits, the little blonde kid that walks up to feed the goat is actually his actual son.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Were you surprised by anything?
Again, I just felt like they didn't really figure out or explain to the audience really what was going on with Terry. Like,
Yeah, she.
again, I mean, she'd been on the show for several seasons now
Yeah.
as the third character. So, like, why are they not really talking about what she's doing a little bit more? I mean, they really went into Jack's new relationship a lot there, which I understand the segue into the new
Right.
show, but sort of drug that out a little bit.
Okay, how about
They
this?
Could have talked about her a little
Things
bit more.
that were odd.
I thought Victoria character's father was quite odd. It's the way he
Yeah, that
comes
was a
in
little
there.
over the top, right?
He comes in there and he's like, "Hi," like just sort of robotic and like you're not sure what to make of this guy.
Yeah.
Kind of get the idea right away that he's like the typical overprotective father, but he's
It was a little much.
yeah.
Okay, what I thought was odd, as they're getting married, he puts on her wedding ring, but he never puts on his wedding ring.
Yeah, what was that
weird.
about? Yeah,
That was weird.
interesting. But was they trying to save time?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, they just try to save like the extra 5 seconds on the show.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was about. Yeah.
So they never mentioned about going on a honeymoon. It's just, I'm going to live with my husband now.
Yeah. And we don't
Yeah.
know much about Philip, the Janet's new husband. Again, maybe there were some
Oh, yeah, I'm sure
episodes.
they learned about
I'm sure
him.
there were some episodes before that.
That might have been an ongoing story for like a whole
But
season.
I think
or
he
so.
had maybe a couple lines in the finale, and that was it.
Things that I thought were odd.
Okay.
Jack asked her to marry him, and they've been dating for 2 weeks,
Yeah, I know.
right?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and she gave up the job to go to Houston for him, and she just has been dating him for 2 weeks. So
And, I know she said that she didn't care about the job, and, like, that was never even really a thought of hers to leave the relationship with him to go to Houston. But more realistically, in those kind of situations, a lot of times people would consider the job at least. She wasn't even having it at all. It was just like,
Yeah.
oh, my dad's just trying to break us up. I'm not taking that job. Absolutely not. Let's just be together.
I mean, they're in Santa Monica, California, and she's going to Texas. Pretty far distance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like East Coast, West
that
Coast.
That could be
but,
pretty detrimental if you
Yeah.
can't do the long distance relationship.
I mean, 2
Especially
weeks.
after 2 weeks, I mean, how well do you really feel like you trust that the relationship's going to survive that?
I thought it was funny how Larry covered his girlfriend at the time's eyes when she was throwing the bouquet over. Oh gosh.
Yeah, and she caught the bouquet as well.
Yeah,
Victoria. So, like, hey, well, looks like they should get married at some point, We'll just have to wait and see how living together goes.
So did anything come back around from like the first episode to this? I mean, there was a lot of misunderstandings. So it's just classic.
Well, I'd say the big thing again is the landlord. In this case, Mr.
Yeah,
Price still
that
thinks
did.
Jack is gay up until
Yeah.
the very end. Like
Yeah.
that was the thing that was from the very beginning.
Good call. Yeah, that's funny. Yes.
He was always able to cover that up somehow. Maybe being a chef was as part of it. He's not like a mechanic or something that's sort of like a typical manly job. I mean,
I thought it was hilarious how Larry was bringing in the organ.
yeah.
Furley was really funny. He almost has that slapstick kind of comedy.
Yeah, I
Jack
mean,
does.
he's just a lot of energy, just no dead air with him. Everything he says is ridiculously funny.
What about Furley's talk with Janet?
Oh, yeah.
And what he says,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
he
the
said
80s.
he was explaining how men have needs and basically explaining to Janet that, this is what's going to happen. Like, sort of almost like giving her the facts of life, like she's like a little girl.
Once he says this is the 80s, I'm like, oh my gosh, you realize how old the show is. Like,
And then, he seems so surprised when Janet reveals to him that, oh, yeah, women can be as passionate as men. Like, oh my gosh, really? Like, he doesn't understand how that's possible. Only men are that way, right?
so how would this rate with other finales, do you think?
I got to be a little biased here. I mean, the Office finale is fantastic.
I felt later shows, I don't get into too many other shows, but like Seinfeld,
Yeah.
The Office, probably the best TV shows of all time.
Yeah.
In my opinion. The finales were so much better, and
well thought out. Right?
they had like big reveals.
Yeah. This definitely could have been better.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It was okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the emotional scene where it had, again, I thought they should have brought back the actors
Yeah.
from the emotional scene there, like unpacking and about to leave. I'm like, oh man. The three of them are standing there. Okay, so Terry has a plane to catch.
Yeah.
is her thing. Jack is got to go live with Vicky, his girlfriend, of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then, so Terry has
Janet.
is going to go live with her husband. And you just kind of like just stand there, and that's pretty.
Terry turns off the
emotional, right?
light, and that's it. It's like,
I got goosebumps, man.
I felt like, and maybe that was all it was supposed to be. Maybe you're supposed to take it in and just like start thinking about, man, this is really it. But I felt like they could have had a little bit more going on there. Something else, a little more dramatic could have happened at the end there.
I mean, they had the classic wedding that's always dramatic. Do you notice how Mr. Furley was walking out the door and just kind of like stopped and did that one more like look before he walks out the door? You know, it's like, man, that was definitely emotional. I noticed the show didn't have a whole lot of laugh track. Like they're trying to bring the comedy, but there's so many serious things going on, and they do that close up.
Sure. It was too hard to really focus on the comedy. I mean, a show like this, it is solely almost comedy 100% of the time.
Yeah.
The classic misunderstandings, and then you have to have the serious moments on the final episode. But yeah, it was a little awkward.
Interesting title, Friends and Lovers.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's fitting. You got these three friends who've been together this whole time, or, a variation of the three friends. Then you got Jack and Janet, who are finally kind of moving on with their lives. And I guess Terry too. You see that Janet's getting married, Jack's in a serious relationship, and that's, I guess, where the lovers come in. I think it's about as fitting a title as you can go with.
This is a huge setup for the spin-off show, Three's a Crowd.
Yeah. Which they flash up on the screen there.
Even,
right?
I know.
Right at the end,
geez.
which is interesting.
How did that show do? It couldn't have been as good as Three's Company.
I didn't hear much about it.
I didn't either. There was also a spin-off show of The Ropers.
Right, yeah.
I
think that was another short-lived. And most of these spin-offs are short-lived, except for maybe Frasier.
Frasier,
right?
yeah, that's a big one.
That's about the one that stands out.
So what do you think? Satisfying ending on this?
Not bad.
It was not bad. Just the three of them, they had that moment. I kind of wish it was like they got to kind of reminisce a little more.
Yeah, I mean,
did Larry had a good goodbye to Janet?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Like Larry, had his comic moments in there, but he showed
didn't feel like
a softer side of his personality that you didn't see as much. I don't know. Something just seemed like it was missing there. And not just
it's
the
just
old
a little
characters.
too casual for me. Like,
it
would have been better if they had like
I think
more of a goodbye.
They focus a little too much on the overbearing father. His
I gotta say,
with Jack,
the overbearing father had way too much airtime. Like, this is the last episode. Let's like really focus on the actual like main characters here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Victoria, again, she had a lot of airtime as well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Slightly disappointing, but overall, not bad.
Yeah. I'll go with that. I guess that wraps up our first and final for Three's Company.
All right. There you have it.
We think anything else?
I think we're good, man.
How's your work week going, by the way?
My work week? Well, hey, it's going great because I'm not there.
Yeah, doing a lot of hours. Dave is on vacation, right?
Well, technically, yeah. It's called personal days off, personal time off, whatever you want to call it. It's called get the heck out of Dodge. That's what I call it.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right. Take care.
This is Eric Jedi Knight. Thanks for listening to the show. If you guys want to write us, email us at lostinconversation@yahoo.com. Hope to hear from you guys soon. The Force will be with you always.
Just my imagination, just the situation I'm in. It's time to start over again and again and again. Yeah. I'm lost in conversation, not my imagination, just the situation I'm in. It's time to start over, time to start over, time to start over again.